Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're ready to recommence. Now that I've juggled speakers, I'm going to juggle evaluators. Our first evaluator, who has once again so kindly volunteered to fill a role, is a man of integrity, our outgoing president, Kai Elmar. And Kai tells me, for a tidbit for his intro today, he, Sonia, and Ginger were down at White Rock Beach. How nice. And they were out treading across the sands. He says he came back with very wet, sandy feet because the tide came back in before they did. Ladies and gentlemen, evaluating Maggie. Let's hear from Kai.
It's always a pleasure having the opportunity to speak to one of the icebreakers in that room. Now, the icebreakers are always very personal stories when people tell about their background, their experience, and they are a great moment for us in the club to learn about the person that comes to our club. This club is as much about speaking as it is about the social community that we have. Now, this icebreaker has been very special for me to listen to. The title was Never Stop. Never Stop. What made this icebreaker very special for me was this speaker had a ton of humor in that speech and achieved a lot of things in her life. And she dealt with that in a very nice way and made jokes about what she did. I just found it a very good way to explain that you do have some experience with light weapons. We do not usually carry light weapons in this room. It's nice to know that in case, as outgoing president or the past president for the next term, if need be, I knew I could ask Maggie, could you handle that, please? And having bullets flying around your head and hearing the whistle of the bullets, that's certainly some experience that we keep in mind when we talk about Maggie next time. Now, about some of the questions that are asked for the icebreaker. How well did the audience get to know the speaker? I think we've got a good understanding of who the person is who's coming to the club. And we've got also a good understanding that this speaker is a very seasoned speaker. It might be an icebreaker, but sometimes the icebreaker isn't the first speech. And obviously, this speaker is very experienced in speaking. An outstanding speaker when he starts that program here. Now, comparing that to handling the light weapons, I would say this is a Top Gun speaker. Coming to the Academy for Speaking for the next level, globally. One thing to grow on maybe is, it was so excellent, the speech, without using any notes, bringing in the instrument and playing that. If you would have left the lectern and moved from the floor from the left to the right, I think you would have had a little bit more contact to some people in. So this is one point, one of the minor points probably, but one point for that excellent, outstanding speech that has delighted us. This speech wouldn't be Integer without, that's okay. Who's the Brett? Integer is okay?
No.
No. Okay. This speak wouldn't have had the integrity without playing the instrument. Thank you. He takes a note. I wanted to see that. Wouldn't have been the same without playing these notes. So I thought this is a special moment for our club. Thank you very much for giving that speech and playing the instrument for us.
Thank you very much, Kai. Our next evaluator, who is also a volunteer, is Brett O'Reilly. I think we should call Brett Mr. Volunteer whenever we have a vacancy, whether it's to get up and give an evaluation, tell a joke, or give a speech. Brett hops up and does it happily. I will never forget one time we were short a speaker, so Brett got up and gave the Romeo and Juliet balcony speech for memory. Very impressive. So Brett's tidbit tonight is that he is very glad summer is almost here, as it means his wife is finally finished organizing and running dance recitals. I didn't know she did that. Which means that daughter and Brett finally get to see her again. Except, I got a further note from Linda saying Brett had an unhappy Father's Day weekend because his little one fell down the stairs, owie, 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 and his oldest daughter announced that she is moving to Illinois. Bit of a shock. When's she moving?
She wants to go in August, but now it's not looking so much like she may be able to go. It's like, oh my God.
So, Brett is going to come and evaluate Gord's speech on herding cats. Let's welcome Brett.
No pause.
Yes.
Okay. Tonight I have the pleasure of evaluating the speech Herding Cats by Gordon Munro. Now, the speaker's goal here was for vocal variety, to show fluctuations in their voice and their cadence and the pitch, the quality of their voice, showing emotion using words, various aspects of vocal variety. In this, I think the speaker did very well. They quite often changed their voice in terms of how fast or slow they were speaking in accordance with the actual story they were telling. So for instance, it was a lot quicker when he's climbing down a mountain trying to catch a cat than when he's talking about just the in-between things of, oh, here comes more cats. We now have 9 of them. So of course, the pace slows for emphasis, which worked really well within the speech. One thing I would suggest, however, one of the things that's called for is a lot emotion, really expressing emotion at various points. And I felt there were times when more emotion could be really brought out. For instance, certain key points, such as the leash, the amount of horror that could have been conveyed in that moment. Because I know I would have been absolutely horrified. I hate carrying my wife's purse. And I react out in public. She'll hold this. And I'm like, ah! And that's just in public. That's not in Toastmasters. So to provide a little something more like that at the leash, or the frustration at, I have to go down a mountain and get a cat. What's up with this? Or even chasing 9 cats around the house. The frustration present in that moment. And I would have liked to have seen more of that frustration come out because it was a very funny story. I think that would have made it funnier. So that is one thing I would suggest. Just try to put a little more emotional emphasis on those key points. There is one thing which I do envy the speaker for, and that is their ability to use pauses. I personally, I don't know how well I do with pauses, of course, because I can't see myself speak. Well, I could if I actually ever looked at the film. But I've always felt a bit weak on my ability to use pauses. And I felt the speaker really used pauses well in this speech. And it made it more effective, especially for the funny parts, because there was the pause to let it sink in, and then the follow-up with a punchline. And that was one of the key things about this speech that really made it enjoyable. And I have to say, after hearing this speech, I definitely look forward to more speeches about herding cats and whatever else has come into his path.
Thank you, Brett. I'm disappointed. I thought you were starting to say, I'm looking forward to having a cat of my own. But maybe you already have a cat.
No. We don't currently have any pets. We have an 18-month-old. That's like 20 cats.
Well, I hope Gord has inspired everyone to acquire at least a half a dozen cats. And now I'll turn the meeting back to our chair, Linda.
about that speech and I hope you acquire many cats. I'm not a big cat person, and the only one in the house that actually likes them is the dog. Go figure.
But is that for dinner or?
No, she just likes
Rat.
I don't know why, she just likes cats.